Hey, my name's Chad Kennedy. I know when I got started making knives, I wanted to know what other people's shops were set up like. And so I'm going to show you a little around my shop today and some of the tools that I use, including this 100-year-old trip hammer. So let's get started. I don't think it's going to cooperate with Bye. Alright y'all, so this is my grinding and finishing area. I have my grinders over here. Got the first grinder that I ever had right here, which I had to build because I didn't have anything that could really take any meat off. And then once I sold quite a few knives, quite a few years later, I was able to upgrade to this, which is awesome, being able to do horizontal and vertical grinding. Over here, I got this desk recently, and I use it a lot for a lot of the smaller finishing parts of a knife, like especially when I do my silver wire inlay. I keep all my tools and everything in here and all that, and then I started making pocket knives real recently, and so I've got a lot of the tools for that over here on this side. But as we move this way, I've got more grinders that I'll use occasionally, and as long as my buffer also, which I don't use a whole lot of, but this is one of the first tools I had, and I was trying to do mirror finish on a lot of things, but I didn't have a lot of storage, so I built this cabinet. As much storage space as you can have, the better. That's why I have multiple toolboxes. I keep all my sockets and small tools and wrenches and everything in here. But a lot of the tools, this is where I do most of my finishing work. Like glue up, everything happens all right here. You can see I've got one gluing up right now in the vise. But I keep everything that I need, all my files and everything that I use a lot, I keep handy right here. If you're into knife making, you use lots of different sandpaper. And so I built a little cabinet to keep all of them divided where you can get to them real quick, which is super handy. I wanted that for a long time. I looked for a puzzle divider for like little kids at preschools, but they're crazy expensive. But build you something like that handy. This looks like another toolbox, but this is where I keep a lot of my woods. I know some people keep them sealed off, but I don't have any trouble keeping my stuff out here in the open like that. But a lot of my metals and everything. Washing station for Damascus. You can see like a lot of the finishing stuff's all right here. Another handy thing is whenever I'm working on stuff here and I've got a pin or something that I need to grind down, I can just turn right around and use my grinder. It's real handy having it right there. But keep a lot of my old belts and stuff hanging up there. If I've got something that's not important that I need to grind on a certain grit, I got easy access to those also. All right, over here in this section of the shop is where I do a lot of the dirtier stuff. I like to keep that section real clean for my finishing work. But I got this little mill machine a few years back, which was a huge advancement for me. Just the accuracy that they have and the ability to mill out guards and things like that was big for me. So before that, I was just doing everything on this little Harbor Freight job, which doesn't really get the trick done, but I still keep this around for chamfering holes out and things like that. But over here, obviously things are kind of a mess, but there's lots of grinding dust and things going on over here. My anvil that I really got almost from the beginning, it's a 250-pound Fisher, which is awesome. 1920 model on that. This is my twisting machine that I made, which is, I know a lot of guys use pipe threaders, things like that, but I didn't want to have to buy something, and I kind of had some of the parts for this, like the motor. This is an old Ramsey winch that I just converted and built all these all kind of connection tools, so you can stick your Damascus in here and twist it. That thing's real cool and real handy. If you've ever twisted Damascus with a pipe wrench, you know how handy that could be. Torch and vise and everything, where I quench my knives. I keep it over here because I'm always spilling oil and stuff. Quench tank that I've had to build for swords, and if you saw that Nambe Nulu build I did on some of my other videos, I had to build a special tank for it because it wouldn't fit in anything. And I've got my two different forges, actually three. This is actually a coal forge, this table is, that I built. Didn't work very good. But this is the small forge I use for just cemetery forge I use for carbon steel blades and things like that. And then my bigger forge, which I hooked up to the back side of a shop vac for my air intake, and I can forge Damascus with that. This is my old Champion power hammer. It's a number 0. You don't see a whole lot of Champions, it doesn't seem like, you know. So this thing was a really cool find for me. It was a local hammer that they used to use for braiding cable back inside itself. They'd use it to smooth it back out. It's still got the old, let's see if it'll run. It's kind of funny sometimes, but still got the old wooden shivs and everything, like the original motor and everything. It's awesome. But sometimes it jumps off like that. But once it gets going, it usually works pretty good. And then I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, I was able to build this press, which is awesome. Got this off an old motor grader off the rippers, and then the beam off of a pumping unit, and then really the only thing I had to buy was the pump and the valve. You see a lot of them are just hand, and I was able to make a little setup for this where it'll return on its own. The spring loaded part lets it go back, and then you can click it to kill it. But that's pretty awesome deal. Paragon oven, I keep it kind of over here. I usually keep it covered up with a fiberglass blanket just to keep the dust and stuff off of it, because it's a pretty expensive little oven. It's a 36, so it's pretty deep. I can do a sword in there if I need to. My welding table, I've kind of got a vise. That's no pun intended. I didn't mean to make a joke, but anyway, I love vices. I think they're cool. I like to kind of restore them, especially some of these smaller ones. Little 1.5 inch vise, but this one leg vise. It's pretty sweet, little 6.5 inch Colombian. And you know, if you're into blacksmith and stuff and you're beating on things, these are super handy because they can take the abuse and they're not going to snap like a lot of these old vices do right there. They can handle it. Let me show you. Come right through here, and we'll go to the other side of the shop. Over on this side of the shop is where I've got my welding table, and this is where most of my knife builds start right here. I'll cut up all my Damascus. I can just run them through here. I've got this mounted flush where I can slide a piece, measure how long I want it, and tighten that down and cut a bunch of the same thing over and over and over without having to measure anything. So that's real handy. Roll my my welder over to this area. On this side of the shop, I've got, you know, my different cutting tools and stuff if I want to kind of shorten up something real fast. Got that. Cutting out some of my blades for pocket knives or bolsters or anything. I've got this little bandsaw that I mounted to this bench that I made. You can buy them, probably easier than making them. I mean, it's not hard to make, it just takes time. Need to rip, you know, something real fast, I'll do it right there. But you know, I use it. This is the thing I use the most. This is awesome. I love having that, and didn't have it for a long time. But I mean, overall, it's not a real big shop, but you know, if you can kind of just cram everything in a kind of organized fashion, you can make it work. I know guys are working out of smaller shops. My first one was an 8x16 little shop that I built, and so everything was really crammed in there and had to be efficient. So I'll do some more videos and explain a little more of the tooling and everything that I use. But I appreciate y'all watching. If you don't mind, subscribe and leave a comment. Appreciate it. See y'all next time.